and welcome back to another Barn Automotive YouTube video. And last week we took a break from the updates on the LS3 Ford Granada, but we are back with a new episode on this car, and I'll be showing you everything that has been done up until now. So let's take a look around at the front of the car. I can show you in the engine bay and some features that we've changed in there, and then take you over the rest. Now you can see round at the front with the grille on, we have removed the lights because we are choosing for LED lights. So we're having them remade with like a modern LED setup in them. So they are now out, but you can see with the grille in, the radiator poking out isn't obvious, it's here. But with the grille on, you never know it's there, and that's the thing I love about this car. Unless you know, you don't really know it. There's some sneaky little bits that might tell you, where you see kind of the radiator and oil cooler at the bottom there, but you have to look very close to know what's under the hood of this from the exterior. Now we have the coolant pipes ran, same for the big one down there, and then the ones that go to your heater matrix, they will sit more like this, and then the plates that come off of here and down, it will cover this. These obviously come out through the plates. I don't know what else. The wiring at the back is now neater, so this will be the only one that's not going to be moved. Like I said before, there's not room for it down behind the engine. We still need another pipe down the back for the brake servo, and that is down behind this loom, so I know I'm not going to be able to push that down any further behind it, and we don't want it to get too hot and squash it there anyway. We have changed some of the wiring here so that it's neater, and then more cables coming down and around to get rid of extra ones that you saw. It means they go a lot longer route around to get to a power point, but in the end it looks better, and they're all hidden. So we're getting there with tidying the engine bay up. It's getting more how it should look. Now I'm not going to pretend like it's always plain sailing and everything goes right the first time that you put it in. So when I filled up the coolant, I started to bleed the radiator system, let it warm up, bleed the radiator system, get it pumping around and get all the air out. But as it started to pump round, if I flip the camera again, on the back of your water pump down here behind the AC pump, you have the seals that go into the engine. One is, it's better, you can see it there, one is here and one is down there. Now there was a leak on the back, maybe one of the seals wasn't sat properly. I didn't bother trying it and using the same one, I just swapped it out for another new one and then put it back together, bled it again, and now we're good with the cooling system. So yeah, not everything goes right first time. There's small things like that that you can't predict or know about. I checked it and it all looked good before, but for some reason, yeah, maybe it just didn't have the depth on the rubber quite enough to seal it off. It looked good when I took it out, but yeah, those things happen when you're doing these builds. So not everything is just, you put it in the car and oh, great, it's done. There are small things like that that you have to rework on. The drive shaft has been produced, the cardan shaft has been produced. I received that back next week, and the drive shafts from the differential to the wheels, they are still being produced, and they will take another 3 weeks. So we have another 3 weeks or so before we can actually test drive it. But we're rolling, we're getting there. So I've started to put back the interior panels so that we have an idea of how everything is going to fit, because obviously that big old gear shifter is not original, and the other one, yeah, there's an extra cover that went on here and then it sat very low. This sits up here, so we're going to have to, this is the final position that it will be in there, but we're going to have to make another plate or adapt this that goes down and then flows back into this. I think if we can keep most of the original, the nicest thing to do is build it in around that, and then you still have your chubby mid armrest and your storage. So I think that is how we're going. And then I'd put the seat back and the dash back to know how much room we have and whether everything is actually comfortable when you're sat in the seat. Is it a good position to shift? Is the accelerator pedal in the right position? Now the seat's in the correct position. So all those things we can now see, and it's coming together. Down here, obviously this is for your transmission, your bulkhead connector. That can be a hell of a lot shorter than that. So we will shorten that. The others, we don't have much room to shorten them, but that is your fuse box, your new style fuse box. We still have the old style up the top, and that is only running your things like lights and windscreen wipers. And then here we have the PCM, and again, these will be shortened. We don't actually need these. And then this is your wiring for the central locking to the doors. And again, not everything goes smoothly, so we had a fault with the central locking controller, so it stopped working. But the guys that sent it to us said they're going to replace it, so no big issue with that. We replaced the controller box, and then we shouldn't have an issue. It was kind of sticky from the beginning, and so I contacted them today, and they agreed to send out a new one because it wasn't really how it should be. Round on the driver's side, I never showed the push button start, so I will show you that now. We have here on the steering column in the original position where the key start was, your push button start. Now, if I push it now, you get this noise. That is because there's an immobilizer that won't let you start, activate, bring power to anything unless you scan this. And you need to scan it on one of these. Now, I'm not going to show where I obviously put this in the car and you need to scan, but this is how it works. You get that beep that I just did when I put it near it. Your start stop button flashes. One press is things like when we have the new setup there on, that will come on. Two presses is the power to everything else, like your second key position. So then all this comes on. And press number 3, where with your foot on the brake, will actually start the car. And also here you can see our gear selectors wired in, and again, without your foot on the brake you can't shift. Put your foot on the brake lock comes off and you can shift. So that is what we have going on here. I put the instrument cluster back in properly in the dash, so this is the final result of how that will sit, and it doesn't look like it shouldn't be there. It looks like it was originally there and made to fit there, which it wasn't, but it does. You will see to the left of the dash screen, this section here, this is all stuff we don't need. This was an old digital clock. These are air vents, but we can reroute them to come out of here instead when we make this new section, because the tubes run just under here to the heater core. So we can place them there, that's not an issue. And instead, all of this will be replaced with an iPad, and that iPad will control your sound system. Again, we need to figure out exactly how we're going to do it. We obviously want the biggest iPad we can fit in. We want it landscape, not portrait. So we have to figure out how we can remake this to fit the biggest one and it still look like it's all tied in, like it's meant to be there, like the dash screen. So that is coming up. I will make a functional mid-console because we only have a certain amount of room that we have there. Once your gear selector cover's in place, we can't make it any lower. So I'll make like a template style one, not a perfect one, so that we have an idea of where your mid console is going to be, and then we make the plan of how the iPad's going to fit into that. Another cool feature on this car that I don't think I've shown you, but this was from the previous install when we had the car here before. I've shown you the installation in the trunk, but I haven't shown you the air ride actually functioning. So you have this remote that is always in the mid console. Turn the ignition on and then all your lights come on the control pad. And then I will show you it going down from outside the car because it's cool to see. Okay, so then all you do is press down and it drops all the way down. One other thing we want to try and figure out is, can we make it any lower? You have a hand's width between the bottom of the car and the ground, but for shows we would like to sit even lower. So I need to take a look and see what we can adjust, probably in the arches, to get this to sit completely on the floor. That would be the ideal thing for shows. So that will be part of this project now as well. And for the rear as well, we will be doing LED lights also. So before we changed them to red lights, completely red isn't actually legal in the UK, so we are swapping back to original light housings, and then with LEDs, programmable LEDs inside. So you will have LED strips for each one of these, and then you can program, so 3 separate LED strips, and then you'll be able to program like light displays and turn signals, and 4 shows, different flashing sequences and all sorts. So we will have completely modern LED lights front and rear once the build is complete. And I guess the only other update to show you is, now that the car actually runs. In the last video you got a short clip of the sound of this car. Now I can do a little bit of a longer clip with some few small revs. I'm not going to go too crazy. I have ran it for about an hour and a half, 2 hours total, not in one go, over smaller runs to get it running. I won't be going much over 1,000 RPM on the revs, but I can give you another rendition of the sound that comes out of this with some small revs. And that is how it sounds with a few small revs. We obviously don't have the full exhaust system on the car. There is a section of pipe coming off the manifolds with a lambda holder in it, an O2 sensor holder. And I put that there just so that it runs a little bit better, to be able to get the radiator system bled and just to be able to kind of run the engine in. So we will be producing the exhaust, but that will happen once the cardan shaft and drive shafts are in place, because we have to kind of fit it next to the cardan shaft, and then it goes through the rear subframe and out the back, and we want to know exactly how much room we have for all of that. But we will be going for a valve style exhaust on this, one that is quite quiet with the valves closed, so you can drive inconspicuously, and then with the valves open it will be not as loud as it is now, but it will be very loud. So yeah, that will happen within the next 3 weeks, I think, the exhaust, 3 or 4 weeks once we have the drive shafts in. Then next thing's the exhaust, so that I can actually probably start test driving the car. And there is one more cool feature on this car that I can show you. And again, this was from the previous time the car was here, but I haven't shown you it doing this. So for this, I will need to turn the lights off. and then with an app on your phone, you turn it on, and then you have Underglow around the whole car. Again, fully programmable. You can change it to whatever color you like, or you can set it to be calibrated with music in the car. And if we go in the trunk, it's the same. So they're both synced together inside and outside, and you can pick whatever color you want. The next video, I will run you through how I'm going to make that mid-console. There's not much else other than interior work that's going to be happening right now, so I will show you how I template that out of card, and then I have a big old sheet of MDF board to make a solid template from, and then this will just be temporary so that we can kind of plan the iPad in as well, so we have an idea of where everything's going to sit, and then everything after that will be covered in leather and Alcantara. It'll be made out of different material to this MDF. So that will be next week's video, and depending on the speed of the arrival of the big brake kit, cardan shafts and drive shafts, that could be the last video for another week or two. And then if that is the case, I have an old project that I did, Rift SF90, the first Rift built outside of America. I have the full installation process of that Ferrari SF90 Rift kit, so I will put that video out. That was something I did back in summer that I never produced the video for. So that would be what I'm looking at doing next week. Another one on the interior build of this, and then after that, Rift SF90. But we need to see the delivery on the other parts for this. So I hope you enjoy following along with this project. Please subscribe and you'll be notified whenever the next episode comes out on any of these cars. And I will see you in the next Barn Automotive YouTube video.